Hello and welcome to our first lecture. Like I said in the welcome message, I may not normally do these since this is a fully asynchronous course, but since it's the first one and it's a little bit different here with COVID and everything going on, I figured I would jump on and just do a quick walkthrough of the slides, just give you a little bit more information. If I do have the time, I will go through and add a little bit of commentary to them, but I try to make the slides as you know um, independent as possible that you can go through and they should tie into the book and just give you a little bit more information and kind of give you some other spider webs to follow out into the world if you wanted to do more research on things and just kind of guide through. But this is CTVR 280. Welcome. It is employment skills. It is our first week. And by employment skills, this should help you in the entertainment industry do what you need to do to kind of try to find a job and placement, a right fit for you in employment in that realm. It is like a very difficult realm to work in, as I mentioned in the welcome message. You really do need to be passionate about what you do. You have to be sure that you're absolutely sure that you want to do it, um, because there are so many people looking for so few jobs. So what we'll do in this class is try to find ways to help you make those connections, build your network, find work, and then keep that work through networking and really doing a top-notch level input on everything that you do. That's the best advice I can give for anybody working in entertainment. So without further ado, we'll go through our slides here. Let's see. Again, I am Angelo Ford. I do have an MBA from the University of California, Irvine. I have a MFA in film producing, television and film from Chapman. Really, I find nice balance in those two degrees. Both the business side of it and the actual creative side and working on projects. You can reach out to me. You can see more what I do, the projects that I work on by connecting on Instagram or Twitter at film_professor, or TikTok at straight up at film professor. I try to stay in touch with my students over the past almost decade now. Reconnecting and putting information out there and connecting people like we're talking about with employment. Helping just everybody kind of flow that information and keep information about sets going and passing it on to somebody else that might be looking to work on a set. So social media is a great way to just stay in touch with everybody that you've gone to school with, friends out there that you've met in the industry, and jobs that you might be interested in finding in the future. You can get great information from social side. So that's one of the things we will be looking at as we're moving through too. A little bit about me, you can see from the blip there. You can watch this trailer of a feature that really got me started, into the industry that I mentioned in my welcome video. And again, you can find me on IMDb and all the other stuff out there. If you do need to get a hold of me, you're welcome to reach out directly on Canvas. That's one way, or at my saddleback.edu address right here, aford@saddleback.edu. The first thing that I want to hit is the course syllabus. I want to make sure that you do go into right over here in Canvas. You can click on syllabus, you can download it, you can read it, and then you can sign at the last page. And then either take a picture or scan it however you want, but make sure then you go back into Canvas to that module and upload it, like I said in the welcome message. There's just, these are the basic housekeeping things that we need to do at the beginning of every class. So make sure that you find that syllabus in Canvas, you do read it, and you do re-upload it. And I will count that as part of the first week's roll call so that I know who's actually engaging in the class. So be sure to take care of all that. Pretty simple. 1, 2, 3, right there. First item of the evening, taking stock in yourself. Who are you today? What do you want to be in the future? Those are really two big things to think about. And I don't mean them, I don't say them lightly. Really sit down this whole week as you're kind of doing about the the online discussion. Really think about what it is that you're good at, what it is that you're passionate about, what do you like doing, all of that, and who you are as an individual today, as a team player. And then, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 3 years? Where do you see yourself in 5 years? That's usually a pretty good window to me. That's worked well over my career. And then, making your goals adapt to that. We'll get more into goals in the future, but I like making goals that are specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and timely. They call them SMART goals. You can look that up and find out more about it. But tie it all into who you are. And then, really this class should help you identify some of those gaps in between who you are and where you want to be, or where you want to be is employment wise in the industry. All of those things we can start looking at and kind of filling in, what kind of things that we need to do to bridge those gaps. That to me is the biggest part when we're always starting something new, whether it's my 101 class or my film 2 class, my film 3 class, my writing intro class. I like doing this taking stock in yourself exercise, kind of see where we're at in the beginning, and then we'll do it again in the end after we've had a chance to go through and have a class to get a semester together. Take a look at the end and then see again where those gaps are that we want to cover for the future. Somebody did this with me, a professor of mine, when I was in undergraduate back up at UMass in Boston, and I've continued doing it for the past 20 years. I did it in my career in aviation, and I did it in my career in business, and then I did it in my career in entertainment, and I still do it today as a professor. Sitting down, taking stock in yourself, and where it is that you want to be in the future. So plays into this mantra. This is the mantra that I live by, which is talent, tools, and training. The individual talents that you have, what are they? What do you like to do? What are you passionate about? Are you great with the camera? Are you very talented at negotiating or doing contracts and business work? Finding out what your talents are. Really taking the time to make a little chart and write them down. What are you really good at? What are you best at? What do you enjoy doing? All that kind of idea that goes into the mantra of it all. And then you can leverage that with tools. What are you? If you're really good with videography and cinematography, what are some of the tools that can then take you to the next level? Working with a red digital camera, working with the Ari Alexa, having a great set of lenses, being able to have tools that help you look at the way the sun goes across the sky during the day and know where shadows are going to fall. How can you use all these tools that we have available today? So many of them with the digital world we live in and the internet world and these computers in our pocket world. But to leverage those tools, you really have to know, what kind of talents you have that are going to be able to take those to the next level. By the next level, exactly what you're doing right here. You're sitting down and getting training. Once you know the talents and the tools, now you can really kind of laser focus by finding the right training that's going to help you take those tools and elevate the output from them. To really, in the example of the camera, the cinematographer, to really come out with a short film that the other students and local festivals are going to be blown away by. So I'm a big fan of this mantra, talent, tools, and training. And when you're thinking about, the topic that we just talked about, of finding out where you're at today and taking stock, be thinking about taking stock in your talents, your tools, and your training, and then again figuring out what it is that you might need to do better in the future. When we're talking about what are you good at specifically, in the realm of entertainment, in the realm of Hollywood, it really is above the line and below the line. And when we're talking about the line, that's a physical line on a budget. Where you have above the line are the producers, the directors, the talent, and then below the line are the crew members that actually work. That on the productions to capture the movie, the grips, the lighting, the electricians, all of those other positions. So be thinking about it. And even above the line, when we're the big things that are really applicable to this class, finding employment, because if you're an actor, that finding employment is basically, fitting a part and casting and making networking to get hired on a film. The other end of it is the producing and directing side above the line, and those to me is like the split of a production. The producer is handling the column of all of the logistics, all of the legal, all of the business aspects of the movie, of a production. And the director is handling all of the creative side. She's the one that's actually working with the talent and figuring out what's going to be on a scene and working with the production designer. Whereas the producer is the one that's figuring out how to pay for all of that and how to schedule it and how we're going to get the best quality for the lowest cost. So you really have to think about that split, and you certainly can do both. It's not that you can't, but early on in your career, it's not likely that anybody's going to let you do both unless you're self-funded and you're a millionaire and you're going to make your own movie and you're going to produce and direct it, going down that realm, which you could be. So that is a possibility. But in reality, in the most practical cases, you're either going to be working in this realm of producing or this realm of directing, or below the line in some other actual crew position. So, what are your passions? What is it that you love to do? What is it that somebody's willing to pay you for? Is an even bigger question, because oftentimes we never get the opportunity to get paid for our passion. So it boils down to what could you be happy with that you're good at that somebody's going to pay you for. Finding a right balance or mix in that realm is really what it comes down to. Be thinking about. For the week one reading topics, again, I said it was in the welcome and in Canvas as well. Chapters 1, 2, and 3. Chapter 1 is a welcome to Hollywood, a bit of an overview of the realm that you're coming into. As I said, it is cutthroat. The book does a nice job of introducing you to that. And then on page 9, be sure to do the exercises. Don't just skim through them. The exercises are really good. So the first one is on page 9 about the welcome to Hollywood. Go through and complete that. And you don't have to turn it in, but do it on your own, and you should have that drive to want to do that. Because, again, if you don't, you're really just fooling yourself. There's not much hope for you in the industry if you're not the type of person that, tries to go out and do everything that they can to get that position, which you'll see in the book and in this work in this semester. If you haven't already seen it in, film 1, film 2, just the general environment working on entertainment type of projects. Chapter 2 is learning the basics. There's another exercise on page 19 you can check to. And then chapter 3 is marketing yourself, which is a constant thing. Even right now, I'm marketing myself to you as your professor with the welcome and making some videos for you, trying to want you to be engaged into this and draw you into it. You're constantly going to be doing that in entertainment. You're always marketing yourself. In the presentations that I'm creating, I'm trying to make them look as nice as I can because other people might see them and then want my help or hire me to do a presentation for them. Constantly. Your IMDb page, the reels that you have, all of that comes down to marketing yourself. As many of you know, I grew up in a world where we didn't have social media when I grew up. And then we kind of transitioned into it. And I see now that everybody I know is marketing themselves on a daily basis on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, whatever the newest social platform is. And it's just the world that we live in now. And if you want to be successful, you have to figure out how that you can present yourself in the best light. The book does a really great job. Page 28 has a great exercise. Again, really take the time to do that. I highly recommend if you're in this class and you know somebody else that's in as well and your friends, sit down and do these exercises together, kind of work through them and, help each other. Because, again, that's the biggest thing that's going to get you move forward in entertainment. It's networking, building those bridges, being friends with people on sets, being, the person that the producer wants to hire, being the person that the production designer comes over and says, hey, I would love to have you on my next set, are you willing to come to Georgia, for 6 months? That's another thing. You've got to be ready to move. There's very little that's stationary these days in the industry. So you've got to be that flexible with that as well. But again, page 28, check those first 3 chapters out. They're an easy read, and I think they are enjoyable. It shouldn't be a burden for you, something that you're not enjoying. So make sure you're really getting some good input from those. On Welcome to Hollywood, a little bit of an overview of what you're going to find there. It is, again, not for the faint of heart. Decide right now, literally right now in this first week, if entertainment is the right fit for you, if Hollywood is the right fit for you, quote unquote Hollywood, because Hollywood these days isn't just the 30-mile zone around downtown LA. You're talking about Vancouver, you're talking about Georgia, Louisiana, Europe, Massachusetts. even in the realm of what Hollywood used to be, going to the cinema. It's not that anymore. It's Netflix, it's Hulu, it's videos on TikTok. So, really figuring out if that is the right world for you is super important. And I think it's literally the first thing that you should do. It's a running joke that if you do have other career options, go follow those. If you're good at numbers, or go be an accountant. Unless you truly have the drive and the love, that you feel like Hollywood is in your blood. Being an entertainer is literally what you want to do in life. Um, you know, check out those other options first, because there's no toe in Hollywood. People I tried it myself. I tried having the day job and then working on short features at night, and, going out over the summer to work on an actual feature. And I could never just make that transition personally to do it full time and support my family. So I kind of floundered back and forth between, the business world, the executive world of logistics and supply chain, and then going and making movies. Um, and it really wasn't until my wife accelerated in her career to become a vice president that it kind of freed me up to shift back into working on films, and then ultimately just becoming a full-time professor. So and I love it. And in doing so, I found that I actually love teaching more than I love Hollywood itself, which is great for me because then it expands the realm of what I can do. So really, really, talk to your friends, engage with me online, talk in the discussion boards. Really take the time to make sure that this is the right path for you, because it sucks to end up on a place where you just can't move forward, and you're stuck. That's nothing. That's no fun for anybody. Whatever you do, this is like when I was a pilot in the Air Force, when I was in business. Take the time to learn the lingo. All of the things. There's tons of books about Hollywood. I'll put in some recommendations on Canvas of some of the ones that I know of the lingo of the set. Of understanding a stinger. A stinger is an extension cord. In the regular world, on the set, it's a stinger. Understanding all of the lingo that goes along with that will really give you a leg up when you're, talking with people in the industry that have the potential to hire you and put you on projects. Embrace where the business is changing. I mentioned Hulu and Netflix. I have so many friends that are like, oh, I don't want to work in streaming. I want to work in cinema and only see movies. And okay, that's great if you can get it and stay there, but that's not where the majority of the business is going. And so identifying those paths and following them can be a great chance for you to really embrace that change and seek those opportunities, and just be able to really, excel in the industry. And then one thing that we're going to do over this semester that's critically important is developing a plan that fits you personally. I believe in having workflows for everything. That again comes from my flying days of having checklists for takeoff and cruise and landing and everything. I believe I'm a big fan of having a plan that fits you, and then educating yourself about the business is number one. Doing exactly what you're doing now, taking a class that's going to help you with employment and give you a better insight. You got to be ready to follow the work. By LA, I don't mean Los Angeles. I mean Louisiana. Huge, huge, huge productions in Louisiana, in Georgia, in Massachusetts. I think California, last time I checked, was like fourth or fifth in terms of productions. So you've got to be ready to move if that's something that you really want to do. You got to follow that work, follow those productions, because it's not a type of job where you get hired by Sony or you get hired by Warner Brothers and you work for them for a whole career and you get a pension. It just doesn't work like that. It used to, but now it's completely up to you. You're essentially your own business. You get hired onto a production, you work for it, and then on that production, find your next job so that you can transition and constantly keep that pipeline full. Because when you stop and you get off the train, there's so many people, like I said earlier, waiting to take those so few positions. It's very unlikely that you're going to be able to get back on. So you want to keep that production full and that pipeline moving. Always be building your connections. Always be keeping business cards. Getting info from people's social media, connecting at film festivals. Continuously be building your connections, and just be putting yourself out there as much as possible. Absolutely do some of the business things that we would do. Have a LinkedIn profile. People think, oh, that's just for, accountants, or that's just for, business managers. No, look at all of my friends that are in the business all have LinkedIn profiles. And it's most likely, they say, that when you get hired onto something, your circle that you're friends with, if you're looking for a job and they know it, they're going to get you a job. It's their friends circles that might see a post that you did on a friend's post and then helps you find a job. It's those outside connections. So spreading your web out there as much as possible is really what you're trying to do, to build those connections. Definitely focus on a particular aspects. I'm guilty of being a jack of all trades. I try to be a master of some, not a master of none, because that's where you find yourself most times. You're so spread thin that you never really get the opportunity to be really great at something. So try to be as early as you can. Again, I teach the 101 course here at Saddleback. My goal of Film 101 is that by the end of it, every single student has at least an idea of a realm that they want to focus on. Because Film 1, Film 2, by the time you get to the end of Film 2 here at Saddleback, that's it. If you haven't found something that you want to be focused on, you're not likely to ever find it, because you've had enough exposure by Film 2, Film 3, absolutely, to know what it is that you want to work on. And again, if you haven't found it by the time of doing a program like this, you really start needing to think about, is this even the right thing for me? Because by that point, there's so many people that already know they want to be a cinematographer, and they've got a plan that they want to go to Chapman or UCLA, and they're going to do this and then go work here and you got an internship. Um, you get so far behind if you don't have that focus up front. So try to really identify what that is in this course. That's the number one thing if you don't have it. I would love to be asking you, because I'd like to know some input on that. I might do a poll actually on Canvas to see how everybody's doing and their focus, because I like to see that myself, having taught the earlier 101 classes and Film 2 classes and stuff. I like to see where people are at. And then, of course, like I said earlier, get hired, build a pipeline. That's the key goal of what we're doing, and then keep that pipeline moving. The basics, learn the basics. My take from the Learn the Basics chapter are these two things right here. First of all, it all boils down, life completely, everything to me boils down to time and money. There's a joke about airplanes that they take lift and thrust to fly. That's not true. If you have enough time and enough money, you can take a brick and send it to the moon. That's literally like what we did, right? So, balancing that. And when it comes to entertainment, money is absolutely the key motivator. Sure, a project needs to be creative, and it needs to be all the interest and all the beauty of a film project needs to be there. But if it doesn't make money, those people who made it aren't likely to get hired again. So maintaining creative integrity without forgetting the importance of the bottom line is absolutely essential to success. Without that, without that profit, there is really no chance of doing something again. And the other part of that is content is king. Whatever the platform is, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, short films, long films, network TV, original stream content, it's all content. And it's the content that matters. If the content's great, then it's going to find its market. It's going to find its platform. The platform is really secondary to the actual content itself. And it's very hard to get great content without money behind it or lots of time. That's that time and money and quality triangle that really start to form here when it comes to the basics. So this is some of like the ground stuff, the ground foundation to focus on when you're looking at the Learn the Basics book. And you'll see more of that there. The actual production process, you should have a good understanding of it by this point. If you don't, take the time to go look this up more on your own. But you really do need to understand the 5 stages of productions. I like to say that there's actually 6. The 6th one today is the perpetuity. You have a movie like Contagion that came out back in like 2012. And, it went through this whole process of 5 stages and then, dropped off the face of the planet for a decade. But a pandemic comes along and all of a sudden, Contagion is in the top 5 of every single major streamer. And when that movie was done, when those contracts were made, they didn't even have streamers. They had, a theatrical release and DVDs. So the contracts might not even reflect the fact that this movie is now number one and making a boatload of money, in some kind of streamer. So you really need to work that into think about the perpetuity. If you're the producer and you work on a production, you're producing something out into perpetuity. It doesn't end, just because of time. So be sure to look at that. But when we're looking at the standard process for production process, we're looking at one, development. That's when you find a script, when you option something, when you write a book, or you you option a book to be turned into a movie. All of the development that goes in with creating the process to make a movie. Pre-production is when you're hiring most of your team. That's the assistant directors, all of the people that are going to actually work on the film crew. You're making up a budget. You're making up a schedule. You're casting talent. All of these things. You're figuring out, where you're going to film and what's going to be eaten, who's going to cater. Tons of jobs in pre-production. We move into production, and that's where films actually get made. Most films, it's about 3 weeks at most, that they typically get made in. But that's like what we think of as a movie. When you think of, I want to work in the movies, I want to work on Hollywood, most people are thinking, I want to work on a set when they're filming actual principal photography. And that's all the production stage. And again, tons of jobs, lots of logistics in there as well. When the movie's shot, it's quote unquote in the can. We move into post-production. That's when the editing is done, the sound is done. Somebody needs to supervise all that work. You might need to go shoot more pickups, as they're called, ADR to get some better quality sound. Tons of jobs in post-production. And then distribution. You're actually going to send this completed project out into the world. Is it going to go to a film festival like Sundance or Raindance in the UK? Is it going to be streaming on something like Shudder or Netflix? What does distribution look like? And then following that out into perpetuity. So really finding an entry-level job in one of these specific elements of the production process is really what you want to be thinking about when you're thinking about your plan. Don't just be thinking about, I want to be a director. Okay, well, do you want to be a director on a short film or a music video? And if so, you should be looking for jobs like in the pre-production and development to get in on those to work early, specifically development. So really taking a look at these, and if you don't know what these stages are, really take the time to go through and identify some of these stages. A lot of these types of jobs here, you can either find through friends or job boards like staffmeup.com is one of them. Constantly I see jobs on there. They're looking for, first ADs to shoot a reality show or a music video, lots of different ways. So have an idea of the specific, realm of the process that you want to work on, and look those up if you don't already know them in depth. Make yourself irresistible. Chapter 3, marketing yourself. To me, this comes down to number one, attitude. We used to say in the Air Force that attitude is everything. You're pointing your nose too high, you're too confident, you're eventually going to run out of airspeed and stall to the ground, you're speeding at the ground, you're too low, you're not really, don't have the right attitude, you're eventually just going to crash into the ground, So it's really finding that right attitude. And in Hollywood, it's absolutely everything. I only work with people I like working with. Confident, passionate, and focused on results. To me, that's the golden trinity of the type of person I want to work with. People that are able to learn quickly, because then it doesn't matter, all throughout my career, I've been hired because I have the ability to come in someplace, learn quickly, I learn their systems, and then I start improving things. And then when I leave, I can honestly look back at every single job I've ever held and say, you know what, I left that place so much far better off than when I found it. One, I knew what it was like. I had a good idea of taking stock when I found it, so I had a reference point. But two, I really did everything I possibly could to always, put my best foot forward. And when it comes to entertainment, I see it in classes all the time, and students show up 10, 15 minutes early. They don't, you're not going to get hired out in the industry if you're ever a minute late. They say that in film in Hollywood, on time is late, and you always want to be at least 15 minutes early, whether it's for a casting call, to be on a Zoom. You're all ready to go. You kind of get your workspace all figured out. So it's not just like showing up for something. It's also being ready and prepared for a Zoom call, to be ready to learn. Always be early. There's no benefit of ever being late for anything in the industry. And there's always going to be some other woman or some other guy who is early, and then they're likely the one to get the job. Perseverance is massive for me. Almost everybody I know in Hollywood is in the position that they are because they persevered while everybody they knew gave up. Oh, I went off to have a baby. Oh, I went off to start a career. Oh, I went off to get my CPA license. A million different reasons that people will leave the industry. It's the people who like keep that passion, and it fuels them to go forward until they achieve it is what they set out to do. So being able to have that perseverance is huge. When everybody around you is giving up, to just keep that motivation, you have to be self-motivated, and find ways to keep moving forward, not looking backwards. There's a Disney quote that he used to say about, around here we don't, have much time for looking backwards. We're too busy, finding new doors and, new pathways to move forward. So you look back in history at any of the greats, Edison, Tesla, Walt Disney, anybody from our industry, and the greats always had that ability to persevere and move forward. Disney was almost bankrupt at one point when he finally struck it to be able to make what we know as Disney today, which is the third part about luck. And I love the quote about luck, that it's not just oh, I won the lottery type of thing. Well, if you didn't buy a ticket, you can't win the lottery. And in our realm of employment, that comes down to luck being where opportunity meets preparation. That means you're ready to go for when the opportunity strikes, because I can't even tell you how many friends that had the opportunity to go work on Spider-Man, Iron Man, tons of Bridgerton, Netflix shows like you wouldn't believe, but they're like, oh, I decided to take the summer off and go spend it with my grandmother up in Oregon. Or, oh, I'm going to go to Boston, and see my family. I haven't seen them in 10 years, and this is my only time to see them. Well, preparation and opportunity, that's real luck. And I have been able to maximize it over my career as a young boy growing up in South Boston, poor, living in a motel, then becoming an Air Force pilot, now here living in Laguna Beach in Southern California, and being a professor, doing what I absolutely love. Every single one of it I can attest to is where when an opportunity came along, I was ready to pounce on it and move forward. And you have to be. You have to be able to create your own luck like that. Don't just wait around for something to happen. You have to be able to collaborate in today's world. It's great to be able to do things on your own, but it's when you look at a film set, it's highly unlikely that you're ever going to be doing anything on your own. It's always in collaborations with somebody else. Even if you're the big time director, you're still going to be collaborating with the production designer, the cinematographer, the key elements or people around you who are like critical to that, making that film a success. And if you can't collaborate, you're never going to be on the same page and really achieve your goals. So be prepared to for the collaboration and working with others. Play nice with others. I mentioned in my welcome video that you have to be able to understand basic project management, Gantt charts, project management concepts. This is one of the key ones. This is a typical chart where you'll have a task that it is that you want to achieve, and then a timeline of when you want to achieve it. For here, I kind of just charted out researching positions, developing a resume, networking at festivals, and the timeline that I would expect those to play out. So again, it's going to completely change to your timeline, your goals, but you're using these tools, to achieve what it is that we talked about earlier. Again, you're getting some training. And if you don't understand these, get the training on the tool that then's going to highlight your talents. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Another business term that, this is like MBA school 101. But what is it? What are your strengths? Really go through and identify. Don't just, don't sugarcoat it or, sugar jacket it like my favorite Modern Family episode. You really need to be honest with yourself and figure out what are your strengths and weaknesses, and then find those gaps and be able to sell yourself on the strengths and be able to sell yourself on your weaknesses. So you don't just sound like you don't have a good idea of who you are. You've never done some kind of like internal thinking to think that you don't have any weaknesses. We all have weaknesses. Um, and sometimes, being able to identify those weaknesses and show that where it is that you're working to improve them, that's more attractive than telling me what your strength is, because now I know that you've done some reflection to really put yourself forward and try to improve that. So opportunities, like we were talking about, this is where your luck's going to come from, right? And how can you put yourself where there's more opportunities? Surround yourself with people that you went to school with that are already working. Go to film festivals. Put yourself out there in the industry and find the opportunities. Don't just wait for them to come along. The more nets that you cast, as like a fishing analogy, the more likely you are to bring in mounds of fish. So when it comes to opportunity, you want to be throwing nets on the social realm. You want to be putting on the actual physical school realm, at the realm, at the, going out to film festivals, as many opportunities to find those improvements. And then the threats. What is it, the threats that you're facing that are blocking you? What's stopping you from going out into the world? And are they even in your control? And if they're not in your control, you need to see if there's some possibility of changing the environment around you so that those threats aren't around. Because you'll eventually just find yourself not being able to make any kind of progress. By making yourself irresistible, you're radiating a genuine passion. You're not just like sitting here. Today's slide is making yourself irresistible. You want to radiate genuine passion, convey confidence. No, I want to convey confidence by like really showing you how energized I am and how much I believe that being on social media and engaging with your friends is actually going to get you a job, because that's really how the confidence is going to be conveyed. When we say, the book says, love the one you're with. Take that to heart. Absolutely. Say yes, unless of course it is immoral or illegal. That is what ended up, in the whole situation, what we're in with the, Me Too movements and telling everybody to say yes to everything, and if that's the way you want to get the job, yeah, well then say yes to it. No, you have to have a moral ground. You have to have a sense of what's legal and right, a moral compass. And if you don't, it's going to be a short-lived success. So say yes, but only in the cases where it's immoral or not illegal, and it doesn't disrupt your moral compass. And then dazzle with your confidence, with your competence. When you actually get to work on a set, be happy, and as much as you can without a fake personality. You should be enjoying your job. I mean, it's something that I'm so passionate about filming, and I love when I'm doing budgets and schedules, and people around me can see it, and they actually say, "Hey, would you mind helping me out with a budget or schedule on my project?" So many times, because they see that I'm competent with it. So you really want to, that's the number one thing that's going to keep your pipeline of work full and employment full, is by being competent at what you do. And if you're not, then you need to gain that competence immediately or find something else to do. Understanding the hierarchy of Hollywood is super, super critical. I put this poster up over in the 101 lab. I love it. You can click on the link to see a larger graphic, but it's kind of a big picture of what it takes to work on a film set, how many people and different jobs there are and what they're all doing. So, look and figure out what departments interest you. What are you inspired by? Do you like creative work, or do you like more of the logistical work? What roles have you done that you're really good at, or that somebody's already paid you for? What do you really find fulfilling? And then what do you find most interesting? So, take the time to go through this little chart here, click on it, make it bigger, and, take that for yourself to have a good honed in idea of what it is that you actually want to work on. I mentioned how many, people work on a set. I looked up Iron Man 3, 3,310 credits on Iron Man 3. That's essentially how many people, about how many people worked on Iron Man, about 3,000 per movie. They're not usually that high. Iron Man was substantially higher, but there is typically between 1 and 2,000 normally on any given movie. Even on some of the smallest low budget shorts that I've worked on, student short. Look at something like a Film 2 project. There's probably 25 people working on that. The independent $3.5 million feature I did, we had about 150 people working on that. And so you really break it down to where the jobs are, where those movies are being made. If you can get on a television show, or if you can get hired by a studio. There's still plenty of jobs in the realm of Sony, Warner Brothers. There's tons of jobs that need to be done at those type of studios that are option two. But be prepared that those jobs are going to be far more corporate oriented. They're not going to be, more entertained. Just because you're working at Sony doesn't mean that your logistics job is going to be, more fun, or Disney. You're still working in a business. It's very much a business part of the industry. So you have to, again, look back on that first slide and identify where it is that you want to be. Do you want to be in a corporate building? Do you want to be on a crew on a set? Do you want to be a director, or producer? And then, figuring everything else around that is huge. Some numbers I looked up there, statistic-wise, over 54%, I think it's up to 60% now, of homes in the U.S. alone have Netflix. Never mind globally. Netflix is growing globally, along with Hulu, along with Disney and Paramount Plus and all those other streamers. Massive amounts of access. And with that comes massive amounts more content and more people working. In the last 5 years, 9,500% growth in TikTok. Social video growth, TikTok, Insta Reels, all that kind of stuff. I have at least 6 or 7 students in any of my given classes these days that are, all on TikTok, and they're doing their thing. And a couple of them have, tens of millions of followers and are already making a career, making $2,500, $3,500 a month on TikTok, just doing what it is they love, makeup or driving or review videos. And that's only going to continue. I think our world is only becoming more and more saturated with homegrown content. And that's certainly something to be considering on, and then adapting to that. This number was really down. It's still huge, but 224 million movie tickets sold in the United States in 2020, and that's during a pandemic. It's oftentimes double, 3 times that outside of the pandemic on a good year. With big movies. So tons of movies still being made in the cinema. Don't expect that to go away anyway soon. It might become more, of like the Cinépolis type of thing, or the Regal VIP. We're not so much the big cinema with 20 movies showing, but I wouldn't doubt if we continue to have, smaller theaters, better service, nice seats with food and the whole deal, showing a cinematic movie, along with significant continued growth in Netflix and booming. I would expect the social video stuff to continue to boom. It's all my 11-year-old daughter watches. All her kids at that age, they're all so like onto their screens. So that content's going to need to be developed, and if you're in front of it, you're going to have a significant opportunity for growth. Big picture overview of the semester. You can go to the syllabus for more specifics, and then obviously go week by week for Canvas, what we're actually working on. But we're going to start here. We've got 4 discussion boards. The first one is super simple. It's just giving me a little input on who you are, what you want. We have a few more of those out throughout the semester that we'll work on. We have a couple essays, like I said. We have the midterm and the final, no big deal. And then we've got the 4 items below: the mock applications, the mock interviews, the mock cold call, and the mock pitch. And then again, follow along for Canvas on the details for those. That's the big hitters of what we're going to actually be doing over the semester, because being able to do an application is massive. Again, all of those corporate studio type of jobs are going to absolutely require it. You're not going to need it so much for the set type of jobs. That's going to come down onto more of the interview heavy side, where people are actually sitting down with you and figuring out if you know what you're talking about, if you're able to do the job, and if they want to work with you. So we'll do some mock interviews on like that. Cold calls, you need to be able to get the information to find out, who the power hitters are, who has the ability to hire you, who has the ability to fund your projects. And really, that's going to come down just to getting over your what's the word? Reservations of, picking up a call and trying to get a hold of somebody. You have to be able to just call and do that. And then pitching is huge. We'll talk about the different types of pitch. The 15-second, hey, I'm Angelo Ford. I was a pilot in the Air Force. I've got an MBA. I've got an MFA. I love teaching. I love working on movies. 15-second pitch versus the 30-second, the 1 minute, then the 30-minute with the presentation and, all kinds of stuff like Shark Tank type of thing. So Shark Tank, by the way, is a great, watching grounds for pitching. You get really good at, even if it's just, they're not talking about movies, but it's still the same format in the way, what people are interested in. It always boils down to, how much money have you made with this product. So Watching Shark Tank's a good exercise for pitching. Anybody that submits a resource on Canvas, I'll give you extra credit. Anything you find that's interesting out there, how to find a job, like this staffmeup.com, as a friend of mine told me about that. So if you're able to, submit if you're looking for some extra credit, go ahead and submit a place where people can find work, or please, film festival that's going on, anything that's related to our employment searching, and I'll give you some extra credit for that. Just reach out to me. I'm on Canvas. That's it for today. That's it for this week. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot me a contact on Canvas or directly on my email. Please go to Canvas, look through what's due for the week. Like I said, this is kind of a little bonus. I normally won't do these. You'll normally just go through, read the slides, read the assignments for the week, do the reading, and do any kind of homework on the modules. So that's where the majority will be. But if I do get the opportunity, I will come in and put in little videos from here and then, and try to make it a bit more engaging for you. Good luck, stay safe, and again, reach out to me if you have any questions. Thanks.